seed had to come out of his body and into her body. Just as the same as in James tells us that receive with meekness. If a woman does not receive with meekness the physical loving attention of a male, she's being raped. And that male is at harm for doing her, at wrong for doing her harm. It's a very meek and gentle and unseen to the world activity. The marriage bed is to be undefiled, and without getting into the semantics of it all, it's an undisclosed activity. You don't do it out in the street, okay? A proper man and woman in private of their love, their expressions, the marriage bed is undefiled, I say close the door. To me, it's the same thing as war. When people want to talk about a guy, how many men did you kill in the war? It's not your business. Okay? It's not your business. That's a yin and a yang of the love. And the same thing in the marriage bed. It's undisclosed. But that's what happened with Joseph and Mary. Astounded both of them. Okay? But we have to let this sink in, and it's very difficult amidst the teaching of the church today, or not just today. It began around 200. It began when Jesus said, I'm going to go away, we're going to plant seeds, they're going to be good seeds, and tares came up. Lies, untruths came up. Let them grow till the end of the age. So we've got a field that's filled with real corn and fake corn. And it's an extremely difficult task for you, Sully, for me, David, for Karen, to sort out the realities. But if we let the Word of God dwell in us richly, reading it on a daily basis, morning, noon, and night, and having a frontlet on our, the law put a frontlet here. What do they call that thing? That was a frontlet. And tassels and everything, so that we would read it. These were types and examples. Put the word here. Read it every day. Mm-hmm. Read it long and hard. I got probably, 2 hours minimum a day of reading it. I guess at least that long. Huh? But it works. It's fun. So, long story short,
reading is fundamental.
Yes, yeah, there you go. Yeah, ask Dr. Seuss.
It's so funny how that's the message.
Yeah, read. Yeah. So the message is this, okay, I'm going to give a brief testimony. I'm going to read what I wrote. I wish I could remember that lady's name.
Does it start with a J?
I have no idea. But it was a blessing. So, here's my written one. I'm going to try to read it verbatim, and then I'll bore you with some more talk. In the Beginning by David Albert. Okay? Speaking of birthdays, born on Honest Abe Lincoln's birthday in 1949 in Allentown, Pennsylvania, I was the last to survive of 3 children in a Marine Corps family. Transferred to Oceanside, California in 1951, my parents separated when I was 9 or 10 years old. I have no bad recollections of those early years. In fact, most are great memories of the family time at the beach in Oceanside. Remember going to the beach? It was so much fun in Oceanside. After my parents' divorce, excuse me, my mom raised my sister, brother, and me in Claremont, San Diego. Again, I have no traumatic recollections of times growing through my teen years. Rather, I could write a book of what I recall as times filled with the kind of fun and mischief I think most kids might envy. I'm thinking about those movies of young kids running through the town and running across the bridge. I forget what these movies are, where the kids, the 5 or 6 boys would get
Stand By Me.
Stand By Me, yeah, there you go. going off and getting into all kinds of mischief. Man, I thought it was the greatest time of my life. Playing in the canyons, beginning at Oceanside, my brother and I running the hillsides of the canyons, going in a trolley cart, going across the San Luis River that our parents said, don't you go down there, there's quicksand down there. Okay, we're down there, you know. And getting in the trolley cart and pulling ourselves across the cable, getting our fingers caught in yeah. Crazy times. I thought it was fun. I don't remember, like most kids tend to believe. You're a girl. You're just a girl. Come on. So anyway, I could get off track. Like I say, I could write a book of all the fun times. Okay.
So you were the vinegar, and then you became the oil, is what you're basically trying to
I'm
say.
still vinegar and oil. Now Jim drinks the vinegar. I'll be the oil.
By the way, when you go to a restaurant, the ratio is supposed to be 2 parts oil, 1 part vinegar.
Oh, I'll measure that at Olive Garden. I refer to my parents as having been good parents. We were taught right from wrong, and taught the Marine Corps way, of course. Okay. And that if you can't say anything good about somebody, don't say anything at all. If a thing is worth doing, it's worth doing right. And that America was the melting pot of the world, and that we should do unto others as we would have it done unto us. We were baptized and, at the appropriate age, confirmed in the Episcopalian Church. So we were all right with God. I held a sense of duty to God, country, and the Corps. That's the United States Marine Corps for anybody who's uninitiated, like Jim and Kent.
Not that I don't know that. I'm familiar with that term.
Yeah, God, country, and the Corps. It's the Marine Corps anthem. So we were okay with God. Yet, for all these tenets of righteousness, I found myself sentenced to a law-prescribed term of 5 to 15 years in the state penitentiary the month before my 21st birthday. How did that happen? Amazing how the tween to teen years of a young boy invite every opportunity to explore his boundaries. More amazing is it how, despite the best intentions and upbringing, I still managed to make all the wrong decisions. Smoking, drinking, sex, and drugs. I was accomplished in all by the time of high school graduation arrival. But hey, I was an Episcopalian and held a sense of duty to God, country, and the Corps. With the discipline of high school now behind me, I moved into my own place and took a great job at University of California, San Diego, managing the surgery lab's vivarium. What a great job, and what a great connection for any drug in any amount, including all the IV classes that I might like. Doctors going through residency and study in a bunch of doggone alcoholics and drug addicts is what I lived with. These were the top gastroenterologists of today's world, you know, that I studied with and maintained their, we did liver and kidney and heart transplants, and I had to keep the animals, select the animals pre-op and then take care of them post-op, try to keep them alive. So anyway, I had access to, I looked at the PDR, the physician's desk reference. I studied Gray's Anatomy, and I watched all these operations. Oh, wow, I'm a studier. I like to, wow, I got into this stuff. And, one of the things that made me good and quick at my job was Obitrol. That was a great blend of methamphetamines that I could get by the jars from my doctors. Anyway, it didn't take long for me to convert my excess drug supply into income. You can sell these things. Really, I can get them at cost from the doctors. I could sell them for 10 times as much on the streets. Jeez. Into income. My failure to toe the line for my boss soon cost me my job, but that allowed me to focus more on my drug business anyway, which was more lucrative and fun. The flower power days of the late 60s were overdosing and fading. You remember 65 to 67 was the heyday of peace and love, the days of the hippie, the flower power. By the time 68 came, it was nosediving because we were leaving psychedelics and pot, mushrooms, and getting into methamphetamines and heroin and cocaine. And it got to be a very dark time. I enjoyed, by the flower days of the 60s were overdosing and fading fast. I was married now, but more self-willed than ever. I enjoyed the perceived power position that I had in the freak community of old Encinitas. Yes, we had the hippie freaks on the one hand and the Jesus freaks on the other hand. They would tell us they were praying for us, but they didn't seem to understand my position.
Jesus is just all right.
Jesus is just all right, oh yeah, Jesus is just all right with me.
The Doobie Brothers.
Doobies Brothers. That's the peace and love and the Christianity that we even see in power today, fading, though Christianity is fading. But back then, and even today, it's a difference between a 30 and a 60 and a 100-fold when properly understood, work of the Spirit within us. Not anything that we can do, but the work of the Spirit coming out. And between day 1 to day 30, there's a lot of stuff that comes in between. And that's definitely where I was living.
Chapter 2, From Vinaigrette to Extra Virgin. Proceed.
So, what a rude awakening it is to be okay. So, Jesus is just all right with me. So, I lived in the boathouses. I was kind of like the head of a drug dealing organization, if you will. You can go back to 1968, 69 and read San Diego archives in the newspaper. And when they sentenced me and my drug partners, the judge says, I'm going to make an example of you guys. Law prescribes. Ah! Crazy. But
Crime doesn't pay.
oh, well, we'll see. What a rude awakening it is to, oh, by the way, I was going to say, I lived in the boathouses. There was a sister's house on 8th Street and a brother's house on E Street. Okay. Such as Joy Beal, okay, Joy, whatever her last name was then, and the wives of John and Jeff and
Deirdre.
and not Deirdre, older sisters. I can't remember their name. Not Bill Colburn. No,
Yeah.
Different. No, these were older sisters. Jeff and Blake and John Beal lived in the other house, and we all intermingled, okay? And of course, the brothers and sisters were telling us over here, you guys are living in sin. In fact, that was the first preaching of sin that I ever had to make. When I got married to my beautiful first wife, my mother, Sonia Appleton, if you remember Sonia, she was quite the preacher, and she brought Chuck Downhow to our house on Norfolk, overlooking Glen Park in Cardiff. And I'm running a business here. I mean, people are coming to my door every 20 minutes. And we'd hand them something, they'd hand us something, and then they'd go. We sit down and there's you know, Saturday Night Live, the church lady sitting there with her purse and her little hat, and that's Sonia sitting there, you know, and Pastor Chuck is sitting there, you know, it's like, yeah, he knew me. I'd known him for years. I met him in 66, 67, you know, from La Jolla Lutheran. But, you know, she brought the pastor to teach us, you guys are living in sin, and how true she was. And what's sorry and so sad is today how few women and men there are like her who will go to their children's house and say, you're living in sin. You're not married and you're having a conjugal life. This is sin. Nobody's preaching that. Hence, the numbers of divorces from a 80% marriage longevity with a 20% divorce rate. It's reversed in today's world. It's reversed in today's world. Why? It's because I failed to carry on Jim's parents' teaching, to teach to listen to my children, and my children, and down and down and down. Hence, everybody's having sex. That's what the entire world and culture is about today. Have sex. It feels good. Come on. It's love. It's love. No, it's not. It's sex. It's eros. It's not phileo, and neither is it agape. It's eros. It's not love. It's sin. Anyway, that's what I was listening to. And of course, I rejected it because Jesus is just all right with me. Okay? He forgives us. You know, he forgives us when we repent. Apart from repentance, there is no forgiveness. So anyway, off the track there a little bit. What a rude awakening it is to be a North County psychedelic beach freak. Some of you have seen my pictures of me on my Harley with long hair, big bell-bottom pants. You know, that's me. Okay. To be a psychedelic beach freak druggie and to be jerked away from all the fun in the sun and now find myself in the Soledad State Penitentiary. This is known as the Gladiator School. This is where you go to learn to survive or die.